Hello again, class. Here we are. We're now on chapter 4, and we're going to be discussing the processes of planning. First thing to realize is the purpose behind planning. It is to achieve what is said here, that there are no problems, there are only opportunities. What do I mean by that? I mean that as we go through business, this course as well as the rest of your career, you're going to be presented with a variety of issues. Those issues are problems, but they provide you with an opportunity to show that you're a manager, to show that you know how to react to them. And so that's why we have this new mantra. There are no problems, only opportunities. So let's talk about planning. Now, planning is something that you do every day. You don't even think about it. Okay? And it always has, in general, 6 steps. Now, the first one, whenever you do any kind of planning, is you sit down or pull back and you say, what's the issue that I'm trying to deal with here? That's the first thing to realize. If you don't know the issue, then you can't come up with the second step, which is alternative ways to address the issue. So the first thing is very important. Know what the problem is. Now, next step, come up with alternative solutions to that problem. Now that may take you some time to do that. Okay? It will require that you think about what's a good solution or a bad solution, what's a cost-effective solution, etc. And that's actually the next step, the evaluation process. And you can see just from my own discussion here, these steps really merge and flow one into the other and back and forth. So the evaluation process is what I just said. Which solutions are good? Which ones are bad? Which ones cost too much? Which ones won't produce the result we want? Okay? That gets you to the next step, which is the implementation. Now, as you can tell, okay, it may take a long time to come up with what the solution is. That may be the biggest step. The implementation itself could be easier, could be difficult. Okay? So it's a variety of steps and it's constant flowing. Then you get to your last step, which is to evaluate how things went. In other words, were there unintended consequences? Were there things that happened that were exactly what you thought they were going to be, but they didn't produce the result that you thought that they were going to be? Okay? So evaluation is then followed by adaptation. In other words, this whole process is continually cycling. It's continually dynamic. And as you can tell from prior discussions we've had and ones we'll have in the future, business is a dynamic environment, and planning itself is dynamic. Although the book says that we go through all 5 and then we'll repeat the whole process, you can see that you could get to the point right here where you're evaluating and realize, I haven't identified the right issue. Okay? Or you could get to the point where you're implementing and say to yourself, I have to go back and figure out how it is that I'm going to come up with a solution here because it's just not doing what I want. So we have 6 steps. This is the process that you want to go through. But it is not a process that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? It could very well be that you have to go back continually and look at things. That's the nature of planning. Now, there's actually three types of planning. Now, there was an operational planning that was mentioned in the book, and these are line managers, folks that are physically on the line, let's say an assembly line. They're on the line seeing what's going on, and they're seeing that there's issues. For those folks, there's an immediate need to plan, to get the right part, to get the right person. Okay? Time horizon is very short, extremely short. But I want to talk to you about 2 other types of plans here, the tactical plan and the strategic plan. Now the tactical plan, either one of these could be very well done by a middle level or a high level manager. Okay? So let's put that aside for a second. Okay? What's tactical planning? Tactical planning has a lot of details to it, and it's at a short time horizon, on the order of 1 or 2 years. It might be, for example, the idea of how we're going to build a plant in country X. How do we accomplish that? Okay? That's tactical planning. Okay? We're going to build a certain type of car or a new kind of product. Okay? How do we accomplish that? What supplies do we need? What people do we need? Etc. Shorter term, very detailed oriented. The idea of a tactical plan, you can imagine it, is to be able to pass it down to the folks that do the actual work, the operational managers, and they know exactly what they're going to do. A strategic plan is more long range. You saw some of the books. For example, Walmart always wants to sell at the lowest price possible. You might think of Ford, always wants to make a good car. These are long-term strategic plans. Remember, quality is job one. Okay, these are plans that are extremely long in duration. They could be on the order of 5, 10, or 20 years, almost like a mission statement. Okay, they're less detailed oriented. It's an objective we're trying to achieve. In other words, trying to build a quality car. This takes a long time to achieve. It may require that we have a lot of people engaged in the process. So strategic planning, long-term. Tactical planning, shorter term. Okay? But both, before I move on, both are using the same planning process. Okay? The idea of identifying the issues and evaluating and coming up with a solution and then implementing it and seeing how it works. It's just the time horizons and the detail is different between each. Now, I want to talk to you a second. When you do tactical planning, as they note in the book, the process is slightly different. Okay, let's just quickly go through the process. The first thing is you come up with a mission statement. A mission statement is this is what the corporation wants to do, with itself. Then there's a SWOT analysis. I'm going to come back to that in a second. You create the strategy, right? Create the alternatives. You implement it, and then you do strategic control. Now, control here is used in the sense that we used it from the outset. Okay? In other words, it is the idea of adapting to the situation. Now, the most important part that you want to take away from strategic planning is what we've identified here as step 2, SWOT. Okay? SWOT, S-W-O-T, is something that will now go with you through the rest of your MBA career. So this is a good time to see how it's implemented. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When you're in any situation, you have to evaluate it. These are the 4 things you want to think about. Okay? Always think about S-W-O-T. Somebody says evaluate, they're really saying do a SWOT analysis. Okay? What is a SWOT analysis? First, strengths. They're internal and they're positive. Weaknesses, internal, and they're negative. Strength of the company. We've got good employees. Weakness of the company. Our facilities are falling apart. Okay? The company looks internally and says, this is what our strengths are. This is what our weaknesses are. Okay? OT, opportunities, threats, both external. Opportunities. Look, there's a market we didn't think about. There are people who want to buy our product. We can make it, get our supplies from supplier X versus supplier Y and save a couple bucks. They're external to the company. T are the threats. Again, external. These are things that might shrink our company. A new competitor is out there and he's going to come in. We were so successful at building this that everybody in the world now wants to come and make it. Okay, so let's think of a threat. Might be your Xerox, and you come up with the process of xerography. Now everybody's going to build a Xerox machine. They're going to compete with you. That's a threat. The market's going to shrink for you. Okay, so going forward in time now, whenever the word evaluation comes up, okay, or alternative, in your mind you want to say right away, oh, they want a SWOT analysis. And that's what you're going to do very quickly. Sometimes, to be honest with you, in my career, you sit there and you say, there's no strengths here, there's no weaknesses here, or there's no opportunities, no threats. The SWOT analysis, okay, doesn't mean you got to find an SWOT. It means that you have to think that way. Okay? And the other thing I'd also tell you is this, something I learned. Okay? Is don't get hung up on the idea of got to be able to pigeonhole it in a certain area and get it right. Okay? The idea of the SWOT analysis is to make you think critically about the situation you're looking at in a framework that everybody is using. Okay? So, for example, let us say that, and then we will have this, we have a problem come up that requires an evaluation to make an opportunity. Okay? And I'm looking at it. So that I think of it in the same way, let's say, as I think it was Marina or Mescal or Gino looks at it. Okay, we all look at it the same way. In other words, we're all going to do SWOT analysis. We're all going to approach the problem in the same way. So going forward, that's a very important thing to remember and always to use. Okay, so that's our lecture on Chapter 4. I'll see you in a little while on Chapter 5, and then we'll go from there. You have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.